welcome to Labour Lent. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's episode of the program, we have interesting news stories for you. We'll also be focusing on the welfare of workers in the oil and gas sector. We will be right back. During its 2020 National Executive Council meeting in Lagos, the President of Trade Union Congress (TUC) announced that state governments should gear up for a total shutdown as workers have already been mobilized for industrial action.
NEC in session commends the federal government for the eventual completion of negotiation with respect to consequential adjustments and commencement of payment of the new minimum wage to federal workers. The Congress, however, advises all state governments who have not complied with the implementation and immediate payment of the 30,000 new national minimum wage to commence negotiations and implementation on or before 31st of January 2020.
The NEC meeting had in attendance TUC chairmen from 36 states of Nigeria. According to data released by Organized Labour, only 6 states have commenced implementation of the 30,000 naira minimum wage. The states are Lagos, Kaduna, Kebbi, Jigawa, Kano, and Adamawa, while 5 others, Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Bauchi, and Katsina, have agreed to commence implementation this month. Also, 21 states are at different stages of negotiation. These are Ondo, Ekiti, Osun, Ogun, Oyo, Edo, Delta, Rivers, Bayelsa, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Enugu, Imo, Plateau, Zamfara, Benue, Kogi, Kwara, Borno, Sokoto, and Gombe. Those yet to commence negotiation are Yobe, Nasarawa, Taraba, and Niger states. Other labor leaders in attendance are concerned about double taxation burden on Nigerians.
I've written and made some requests and said all these taxes should be annexed together so that it makes life easy for workers, because all our income is being eroded by tax. But I know that with the minimum wage in our sector, all sectors and all states are meeting with their management and their state governments. I know with the minimum wage there will be a bit succor to everybody that the tax is being affected.
The chairman, Trade Union Congress, Ekiti State Chapter, Shola Adigun, condemned the ongoing mass sack of workers by the Ekiti State government, saying due process was not observed in the exercise. The organized labor in the state says negotiations are ongoing to ensure that workers unduly sacked are reinstated.
We made a visit to the management, we engaged the management, and we had a useful discussion with the Vice Chancellor, and he did promise that another committee will be chosen so the affected workers can appeal, and indeed that one has been done. Though we raise our displayer and a serious opposition to that to the action, our thought is that such action should have taken place first. If a panel or a consultant has given a report according to what the management made us to know, these workers that were affected ought to have been allowed to defend themselves. But we thank God the university community has given opportunity to these affected workers, and according to the report, which we are still studying, some of them have been restated. So we want to look at the report critically and to know those people that were not restated and why. We are still going to engage the management on that.
The integrated payroll payment information system, otherwise known as the IPPIS. It's a payment platform that government has been running since through a consultant since 2010. Basically what it does is emolument, to pay emolument. The conflict here is that there is another platform that has proven to be even more efficient and effective. That's the Government Information Financial Management Information System, GIVMIS, which is run by the Central Bank of Nigeria. We have said it times without number. What is the essence of any policy? Let us know. And if the essence indeed is to curb ghost workers, as they claim, then IPPIS has not done that over the years, because year in, year out, we get stories and news of ghost workers that has been discovered every other year. It therefore means that that system is not foolproof. But you can't possibly, I'm sure nobody can say of GIVMIS that has faulted in that regard. And many of the MDAs in the oil and gas industry are on GIVMIS, which has proven to be effective. Like I said, again, run by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Government has not come out to say why we want to migrate from GIVMIS to IPPIS. Let's leave that aside. Let's go to content. IPPIS does not have the capacity to capture the peculiarity of the oil and gas industry, because the system is run by appraisal, by evaluation. People earn what they work for. It's performance-based. And then there are technical areas and there are technical issues that are peculiar to the oil and gas industry, which the IPPIS platform has failed to capture. This is the crux of the matter.
We welcome that initiative. When we said any initiative by government that will create transparency and accountability in the system, we welcome it. Some of our members are in government agencies, and then they are now captured under this government directive. And we are saying that, yes, it's a different thing in our own industry, where motivation and all is very paramount, And when the IPPIS just brings a structure that, look, your earnings will be divided by 12 and then give you once a month. There are certain things that are different. Maybe I go offshore. I have hazardous areas that I work with. I have special allowances. And then there's merit increase that shows what I put in. It's different from what others put in. If all these things are removed, it removes motivation. Now we are saying that we are not advanced. Come and so what they told that everything will be captured. Come and demonstrate it to us. Once you're able to demonstrate to us, we are okay. But that has been the snag. We've not been able to be convinced that yes, these things will capture these peculiarities. We have been more matured in pursuing it. We know the challenges government has with ASU, and nobody's here now, but we have been discreetly working with government, including the Federal Ministry of Labor and even the Director of Nigerian. But it seems as if they are just following government order. Civil service, just follow government order. This is what government said, and this is, I said, no, you cannot slap a child and say the other child should not cry. That's just the difference. Let government come, capture our peculiarities, and then we'll flow with it. Nobody is trying to cheat anybody or anything. I want to work for my money. At the same time, to what I work for, I want to be paid for it.
On the profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the national president of PENGASSAN. He gave insight on how the IPPIS payment system affects workers in the oil and gas sector. He also profiled solutions to some of the challenges the oil and gas sector is faced with. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you so much, Shara.
A lot is happening in the oil and gas sector, and I would like to say congratulations on your appointment as the new president of PENGASSAN. Right now, one of the trendy issue or topic is the IPPIS. That is the payment system the federal government has been introduced, not reintroduced to the people or to workers. Can you tell us what PENGASSAN's position towards this payment plan or procedure?
All right, thank you, Sharon, for having me on the program. Thank you so much. On the IPs, I think time and again we have made it clear that PENGASSAN is not averse to any policy or platform that can make us efficient as a people and also to curb corruption. What we have always said is the people who will be impacted by this introduction of a new platform, their concerns and peculiarities must be carried on board. Whenever you introduce change, obviously there will be people who will be frightened because it's always tough to make people move from one point to the other. But your ability to allay the fears and the concerns of people that, look, we're taking you on a journey from point A to point B, and we know that point B is better than point A. But the way it works is that you need to allay the fears of people who are a bit concerned moving from the point A that they've known for some time to point B. So for IPPIS, PENGASSAN is not against IPPIS. Repeatedly, up to a point where we have started engaging the Director General of IPPIS and some other staff in IPPIS office, we have said the current platform that the oil and gas workers are currently on, it is still government-owned platform. It is not the workers' platform. So if for any reason government thinks that this one is no longer working and they need to, move to another platform, fine and good. But we have said, come, let's have a handshake. Come and help us run some simulations that will allay the fears of people when they eventually come on board the platform.
So what are your members saying? What do they want exactly? What are their fears?
All right. In oil and gas and in most other places, there are payments and allowances that are products of collective bargaining that are done every now and then. There are also payments that are not for everybody. So it is through the handshake that the people who are building this platform or who are going to manage this platform will need to appreciate those peculiarities. And then you can run a simulation to demonstrate to us that there is no cause for alarm, that their fears are not founded after all. So those are the issues. And I'm happy that the last time we met at Ministry of Labor, we started having conversation. We are interested in supporting government to curb corruption, bring about transparency in our payroll system and any other area of our national life. But that will not becloud the genuine concerns of people. Those concerns, I think, need to be addressed.
Moving forward, still talking about workers' welfare, casualization of staff, outsourcing of workers, seems to be the order of the day in the oil and gas sector. Now, we are aware that workers do have the right to unionize, and recently some Chevron workers were sacked. The reason given was because they wanted to still be part of the union. How would you describe this act?
Well, I'm not sure the intention of management in sacking people, but there is no organization that can dictate for this country, Nigeria. We have our laws, we have our traditions, much as we will support investment and investors for their business to flourish and for them to, take their profit back. But I don't think anybody will be comfortable to see people stand up and flout our laws. Unionization of workers are the rights of workers. For them being in the union, it's freedom of association. This is known to everybody, including my grandmother. So, it's unfortunate, when we see organizations stand up and do things that are unethical, that is a direct slap to our constitution, our sovereignty as a people. So, for us, when we see such things, we stand up to it. That is what it is.
So what should be the expectation of the workers affected from NUPENG and also PENGASSAN? What should workers be expecting?
We've always supported our people. And now that we have this kind of situation, we will not also leave them. We will also find a way to ensure that we reach out to the organization involved, try to, first of all, see whether we can have that engagement. We will have to exhaust every rational and friendly approach to resolving the issue. But where that fails, we probably have to escalate that to another level.
Talking about having expatriates in the oil and gas sector, would you say that we have more than the required numbers of the expatriates that is needed in the oil and gas sector, looking at the struggle towards achieving more of local content in the oil and gas industry?
Well, this is a very thorny issue, thorny in the sense that there are agencies and departments that are supposed to be monitoring that space. We are not averse to having experts in the industry or any other place for that matter. But there are rules, there are regulations on how they come in, the numbers, why they need to come in. So, but then it is down to us as a people, especially the responsible agencies, to rise up and live to the rules. Whereas, as members of the union and who work for different companies, ours will be to highlight this to authorities that have the mechanisms to check and to monitor this whole thing. If we have infiltration of or influx of experts and it is against our rules, maybe they come in excess numbers as against what it's supposed to be, then it means somebody somewhere is not doing his or her job.
Okay, would you link that to the issue of unemployment in the market, in the labor market or in the labor space, vis-a-vis the fact that even Nigerian workers that are being engaged don't have permanent jobs?
Yeah, well, I would say partially in the sense that if I look at the number of unemployed people versus the number of expatriates, they will not come together. So it will not be fair to say it's because of influx of expatriates that has denied Nigerians, work, So, but it's down to us now as a nation, understanding which aspect of our national life we need to do one or two deliberate actions. How do you want the economy to be prosperous? How? There must be genuine and real investment in the country.
And which moves me to the issue of refineries. From your own experience in the oil and gas sector, what impact would it be for the average Nigerian and in turn workers if we have refineries that are working optimally?
Enormous. Enormous. Today, we have refineries that are not real operational or not really running to its capacity. You see, if today a lot of people have said so many things about refineries, and PENGASSAN, we have said time and again, the refineries, we don't want refineries to just, people just pick refineries and sell refineries as scraps. And then people will just go somewhere, position themselves and buy up these refineries, and then the money will not, you not even see the money, in the sense that it may not even come to nothing. Because if such refineries are sold as scraps, then you don't get anything, or you get peanuts. So as a nation, you perhaps will be dashing the refineries out to people. But we have said, let these refineries, let government be deliberate. Let's change the ownership structure or model of these refineries. And that will also bring in a new operational model. I've said it time and time again, that the NLNG model works because of the ownership structure and the operating structure or model, as the case may be. Today, if government goes out there to shop for core investors, people who have the expertise in the refinery business in the world. I'm not talking about people who will go position themselves, get one or two persons to come here with briefcase and then buy the refineries and say, oh, we have bought it. At the end of the day, it's still not going to be effective. So people just take it over. Element Petrochemical was sold years back. Today, it is working.
It sounds interesting, but will this not amount to privatization?
Partially, yes. Partially, yes. Because at the end of the day, government cannot be the best manager for business. Government must find a way to keep herself as regulators of business or people that put the framework that can encourage business to grow. When you put the framework, you put the right policies, you make the environment beautiful for investment, people will come in. And yours will be to sit back, take what is due you, and let people run the business. That way, not just you make money, your citizens are employed, and you are also self-sufficient.
Recently, when addressing journalists, PENGASSAN raised its eyebrows towards the issue of multiple taxation, which many Nigerians are actually experiencing at the moment. Vis-a-vis also the issue of insecurity in the country. Can you tell us what are the yearnings of your members?
Sharon, I think we have said this time and time again. If we talk about economic prosperity, actually you will see that there are building blocks for such to come to pass. All over the world, high taxes are no longer the tool required for economic prosperity. Let's get more money by government. Is old-fashioned to the extent that this money you are talking about is in the short term. That's what I'm saying. Yes, you can make money. I'm not saying money is not good for government to do things, but if you have 10 investments here in Nigeria, for instance, and you are to tax them 1,000 naira, that will come to how much? 10,000 naira. Assuming that is too high for them to pay and they are grumbling, another investor that would have made them 11th investment will not come. The people who are already having the investment will be just managing. But that same space, if you are to be liberal, to crash their taxes, give incentives, give waivers, that will draw investment to you. You can actually, in a short time, have more than 50 to 100 investment of such. So even if you come down to 400 naira, you will see that you still make more money in the long term. So it's not about collecting taxes everywhere. If you go to the ports, it's difficult there. Aviation, the same thing. There are a lot of Nigerians with a lot of money. They're not investing in real business. Most of them are taking the money out or even just keeping it in money markets, treasury bills. And no matter how you crash the interest rates in treasury bills and money markets, a lot of people will still keep their money there because they don't want to even get into the risk of this and that. So there must again be a deliberate effort on the government to look at all of this to say, hold on a minute, let's harmonize some of these taxes. A lot of people are closing shops because it's difficult everywhere. Government must step in and be very deliberate in the things they want to do. Multiple taxations, high cost of business, infrastructural decay. There's no way that it will help us to be prosperous. But I believe, I have faith in Nigeria, and I know all we need to do is to be deliberate and do what we are required to do. And I can tell you, whether anybody likes it or not, Nigeria and Africa will stand the test of time in the end.
It was an interesting conversation I had with you.
Thank you so much.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.